okay? All right, so here goes. Welcome, everyone. I am going to start by sharing my screen and showing you one of my favorite tools. It's all the rage these days. It's called Otter, right? I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this, but maybe you don't know everything it's capable of, or maybe you haven't heard of it. But this is a tool that we often that we often offer to our EAC students if we can't find a note taker for them. So it acts as an alternative to a note taker. Basically, what it does is it records and transcribes whatever it picks up, whatever it hears. So there are a lot of transcription tools out there already. There are also a lot of audio recording tools out there already, but very few of them do both simultaneously and pair them up with each other like this. Because the idea is that not only does it record the audio and the transcription, but you can go back and listen to it while you read it, and it'll help you follow along. So for example, this is a transcription that I did once before. And basically the idea is that when it loads, there'll be 3 tabs at the top. There'll be two tabs, a summary tab and a transcript tab. The transcript tab is verbatim what was said, and you can play it back. Sorry, my computer's really slow today. I don't know why. But the summary tab, for that matter, is exactly what it says it is. It's a summation with AI of the transcript. So this is a great tool for us when it comes to meetings, right? Like if you want to use this kind of tool in a staff meeting, you can use it to record the meeting, and then you can go back and take notes off the meeting, and you can go back and you can look at the summary of the meeting. Oh man, my computer is just way too slow right now for this. So I think I broke my computer, but here comes the summary. Hold on to your seats. Oh my gosh. So it has action items with actual check boxes that you can check off. It comes up with those. The meeting is actually playing now because it finally realized that's what I wanted to do. So it's playing it back, and while it's playing it back, the blue words are going as it goes along. So that's the idea. Now, if I want to record a meeting, if I'm in a Zoom session, just to let you all know, it won't work on the same computer very easily. You have to use what's called the AI or Otter AI Assistant, and you have to invite Otter to join the meeting as though it's another person. And then Otter can work within the Zoom session to provide live captions, record the transcription, and all its normal features. The way around that I'm going to use right now, since we're in a Zoom session, is I'm going to use a peripheral device, my iPad off to the side, that's logged into my Otter account. And a lot of students can do this with a phone, for example. And then if I check for it on my computer, I should see something at the top that says live transcription or live note. And this is it working on my iPad. So in this instance, my computer isn't what's actually recording me or picking me up with the mic. My iPad is, and my computer is working as a peripheral device that's showing me what it says. Why might this be useful? Well, you can use your iPhone or Android phone. It does work with Android. You can place it up near the front of an audience. Like you can place it on the podium next to an instructor, etc. And it essentially works as a remote microphone. And then the student can be back at their desk with their computer open and still see what the mic is picking up, 20 feet away. So that's the idea. It's also useful as a dictation tool. You can export any of these text files as a text file or as a doc. You can export the audio component as an MP3. You cannot export both, though. The only way you can get both the sound and the text at the same time, at least that I know of, is within the Otter environment. So I see from Alan. Yes, this is Otter, Otter, and it might be also called Otter AI. I've also seen it called Otter Notes. And there's even one more, I think Otter Memo Notes or something like that. They seem to have a branding issue, these guys. And so their title has changed, but their symbol is not. So if you go on your app store, you'll find it up there. It'll look the same with the blue circle and the lines and all that. So that's Otter. Another thing I wanted to talk about was just if you want to dictate, maybe not everyone knows how to access the dictate features in their Word document file, their word processors. If you use Google Docs, it's a little hidden. So that might be one reason people aren't aware of it. But right now I've got a Google Docs folder document open, blank. And if I wanted to dictate, I go up to the tools icon, and then I go down to voice typing. And what I like about that is that it doesn't just start doing it right away. It gives me access to this microphone control, and then I can click on that and it will start dictating. Now, I don't know, to be honest with you, if this is going to work while I'm in a Zoom call, because the microphone might be hogged for Zoom and not accessible to the Google Doc, but let's give it a shot. Are you working Google Doc? Yeah, it is. Okay, so in this case, it does both at the same time. So that's how to access the dictation feature in Google Docs. In Google Slides, well, actually, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to do two Google things in a row, or if I wanted to do two word processor things in a row. So let's do the next word processor thing. Let's do Microsoft Word. So for Microsoft Word, and can someone tell me, are you now looking at Microsoft Word, everyone, rather than Google Docs? Did the Edge browser open up? Just want to make sure everyone's looking at what I'm looking at.
Yes.
Yes, somebody says, okay, thanks. Thank you, Selena. So for the Microsoft document, what I would suggest is using the browser version. The desktop version doesn't offer it anymore, at least to my knowledge. I couldn't even track it down the other day. I couldn't even find it by doing a Google search. You might still have a dictate button on the Word desktop if you have a really old version of it. But basically, they got rid of it for a while there. They were trying to incorporate the Windows dictate feature in it, and it was kind of a nightmare because it would stop after you said something as though it was a command that it was waiting for. It wasn't like this ongoing dictation feature. So definitely, I suggest the browser version of Word. The dictate button is right there under the home screen, front and center. You just hit that, and hopefully, it says we encountered a problem with dictation. Please refresh. Let's try that. This one might be one of those scenarios where I can't zoom and dictate at the same time. Come on, computer. Are we working? Well, the dictate button seems to be finicky. If anyone here is from IT, I could use a new computer, just so you know. Let's see. There we go. I got it to come up. So when I turned it on, it has the microphone off to the side, and it should also allow me to dictate. But is it working? I don't know. Work, please. Yay, there it goes. So that's how you access dictate in Microsoft Word. But something else that I discovered, and I don't know if everyone knows this, but you can, if you click on the little arrow, you can upload an entire audio file and have it transcribed in Microsoft Word. So you just click on the little arrow, and then over to the right, you have your transcription upload options. You can upload an audio track like an MP3. And then after some time, it does take a few minutes. It just depends on how long the recording is. But or you can start recording live. But if you upload a file from before, from someplace else, it will dictate the whole thing and show up as a Word document. So pretty cool. All right, moving on to Google Slides. For Google Slides versus PowerPoint, there's a little bit of a difference here that I've noticed. If I want to use the dictation feature, let's see. It's in Tools again. And there's the dictate speaker notes. But when I use it in Google Slides, it comes up at the bottom. So rather than being a direct interface with the slide itself, it's basically just entering what I say down at the bottom. And it's not necessarily meant to be, I don't think, for dictating into a slide. It's just kind of a nice bonus feature. This is considered the notes section of Google Slides. So it's where you would kind of add reminders or notes to yourself, I guess. But the nice thing is when you're all done, you can, of course, copy and paste the whole thing, right? So it essentially works as a dictation tool for that. Another thing about the Google Slides is the live transcription, the live captions. So the way you access that, if you'd like to, is you go to the slideshow button in the upper right corner. This is the way I know of how to do it. I'm sure there's another way. But once I get the slideshow going, it doesn't look like there's anything unless you scroll down to the bottom left corner of your screen. And I hope you can all see the slideshow because I went into the presentation mode for Google Slides. So in the bottom left corner of the screen, you click on the three little dots, and then you have all these options, caption preferences, and toggle. So when you toggle them on, you have captions at the bottom of your screen. This can be great if you're doing like some kind of presentation for your class, you're doing an online class. If you're also using a slide deck while you present your class, then you can access this feature while you're showing your slides. And bam, you have your captions taken care of that way. So at this point, any questions? I'll show you the PowerPoint next. So if you're a Microsoft fan and you really want to use the PowerPoint version of slide deck, the way you dictate here is it's right there, the dictate button, but you do have to choose a location first. In this case, it doesn't work like Google Slides in the sense that it has a whole separate area for whatever it is you're saying. You have to actually click in the slide and then hit dictate. And hopefully this will work. But it just seems really slow. There we go. So now it's dictating straight to the slide. So that's the difference as far as I can tell. Just depends on your preference, which one you want to use. As far as live captions go, this one was a little tricky for me to find out, but you go to the slideshow icon or tab on the upper left corner. And then mine just always says, always use subtitles. That's its default, but you basically want it to say that or choose something along those lines. But then once that's activated and you start your presentation, it's the same idea. It's going to offer a control panel once the slides get going in the bottom. And this little control panel in the bottom, I'm not even sure if you are able to see it because it might be hiding beneath the taskbar or something like that. It's a lot smaller. It's not as noticeable. But basically, this is where you can turn the slides on. I mean, the subtitles on. And then there you go. So there they are in the PowerPoint environment. So that pretty much sums up my my dictation features in Google stuff and Word, Microsoft stuff. I'm going to move on to some browser extensions. Let's make this a little interactive. How many of you use browser extensions? Give me a thumbs up. I'm just curious. This was a litmus test to see where we stand. All right, one of you. Just one. Or is this not showing me everything? Two. Two of you. All right. Well, good news then. This will be educational, I hope. So this is cool. I love browser extensions. They make them for Chrome in their Chrome web store. You just click on the extensions link and then you can go to town with searching for different features that you'd like your browser to have that it didn't come with. And in the Edge environment, they're called add-ons. They have the Microsoft Edge store for add-ons as well. Not everything is for both browsers. Firefox also offers a lot of them, but it's a little different. You can't just like click a button to add it. You have to kind of install it, I think. So it takes a little longer. Safari doesn't really offer any of these things that I'm gonna show you. So if you're a MacBook user, then there's a good chance you'll want to use Chrome as your browser rather than Safari, or Edge for that matter, but probably Chrome to get access to these kinds of things. Although, for the record, Apple is, of course, really good at building accessibility and assistive technologies right into their devices. And that's probably why they don't think to add a lot of this stuff to Safari, because they're kind of doing their own thing anyway. But I'll start with this one. This one's called Kurzweil Read the Web, and this one does cost money, but this is something that we offer our students at EAC. So when they have a reading or learning disability, like if they're dyslexic or they have ADHD or depression or anxiety, or for any reason they have difficulty reading, then we can connect them with Kurzweil, which is a text-to-speech tool. And it allows me to upload entire PDFs and Word documents to a Kurzweil account, which then that student can log into and use. But there's also this extension that they make for just reading the internet out loud. So mine says remove from Chrome because I already have it. But in the upper right corner, if I were to turn it on, I'm gonna, sorry, I should have been prepared with one more tab. So I'm gonna find an article to read about, somebody tell me their favorite superhero in the chat. I'm just now reading the chat. So you could use this to find the lyrics for a song. Was that with, oh, Spider-Man. Okay, I'll do Spider-Man. Thanks, Christina. She beat Selena and America to Batman and Hot Girl. All right. So let's say we're gonna do a Spider-Man article. The reason I'm doing this is because it really does have to be a page with text on it. There are some pages where this extension won't work. For example, it won't work on the various page that you're getting it from. So like when I turned the Kurzweil extension on this page where I got the Kurzweil extension from, it knows better. It's like, no, you don't need it to read this because you're already there. So find a page with text on it. This could be an online textbook. This could be a news article. It can be pretty much anything with HTML text. And then when you turn it on, it gives you an opportunity to log in with a username and password. Because again, I mentioned this is a paid item. Wait, Oxnard, I know where we are. Not Oxford, Oxnard. So let's see, give me 1 second. So now I've got this little dashboard in the upper right corner. I can move it to a different area on the top if I wanted to. And when it's on, I just pick a location that I want it to start reading from, and I hit the play button. And I wait for a moment.
Spider-Man is a superhero in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. Created by writer-editor Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko. He first appeared in the...
So there are a lot of tools that do this out there already, and Kurzweil is just one of them. But it's It's pretty great because it works as an overlay with almost anything. It also works with Canvas pages. So if a student doesn't necessarily want to enter that immersive reader environment, which is available on Canvas, then they could use Kurzweil to read the web page as it stands, and still have access to the links and all that are on that site, on that page. So it's a pretty cool tool. You can also use it to look up words. It has a dictionary built into it that allows you to listen to the definitions out loud.
Anthology.
This can be great for pronunciation. Also, you don't have to open another tab or do another search on your phone to find out the meaning of a word. It's all right there. It's got a highlighter, so you could treat a web page as though it's a textbook that you want to highlight. You just choose your favorite color. Mine is, I think it's green. I don't know, maybe it's blue. I lost track. But you highlight what you want, and then the next time you revisit that website, it'll still be highlighted as long as your extension is open. So if you're using the Kurzweil extension, the Read the Web extension on a page that you've already visited and highlighted, it will remember what you did and it will still be highlighted. So again, this is really great for OERs or documents that you're going to go back to online. So I'm going to log out of that. That was a really exciting one to me, but there's more. Let's see, can I get to that? So next, I should have this set up to where it'll take us. Yeah. So there's one called Read Aloud. Read Aloud also works really well for Chrome. It was kind of the default for Chrome browsers. You can add this to have pages out read out loud. Because Chrome doesn't have that, as far as I know, unless I need to update my Chrome, it still doesn't have a read aloud feature built into the browser. So you have to rely on this extension to get, or some kind of extension to get it to do that. Whereas Edge, Microsoft Edge now does offer such a thing. So in the upper right corner of the address bar where you type your URLs, there's a little A with 2 lines coming out of it, and you hover over it, it says read aloud this page. So it's built into the Edge browser. It's not my favorite tool though. I still prefer to use Kurzweil because I have more control over navigating the page. This one right here can be a little clunky, and it loves to start at the very top and read things like hyperlinks and tabs and contents and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I just want to get started reading the certain, the main paragraph, the main words, the meat of the page. So, but it's there. Other extensions. Pixie was my favorite for a long time until they started charging money like 3 weeks ago or something. So sorry for all of you who were about to be super excited about Pixie. You'd have to buy it now. I still have it. That's why it says remove from Chrome. I do still have Pixie, but I have the really poor unpaid for version at this point. Back before it required money, it could do all these things that you see here on the right for free. It was great. So text to speech means that it reads out loud, of course. You could choose the speed, the pitch, the volume. You could choose the voice. You can choose it to highlight what it's reading or not. You could choose the text configuration, like Open Dyslexic, which I'll talk about in a bit. But now when I try to click on Open Dyslexic, it won't work because I have to subscribe. It would make the text bigger on your screen. You could bold everything on your screen. You could tint the color of your screen. You could space the lines of your text further apart. You could have a line show up on your screen so that it would isolate what you could see to like one horizontal line so that it would lessen distractions on the page you're on. So you can just kind of read things one line at a time as you scroll down. And I'm sure I did a couple other things too. So that was really cool. If you want to get it, I say go for it. It's awesome. I just haven't really bothered to pay for it yet myself. Having said that, I was going to talk about Open Dyslexic because that's something I like to share. There is another extension called Open Dyslexic for Chrome. And this is the one that I use at least. It's free. It's still free. There are others. If you do a Open Dyslexic search in the Chrome Web Store, you'll find all these things to choose from. But that's the one that I have used, and it works pretty well. So the idea with that is that if I want to read this page and I turn on my Open Dyslexic extension, where is it? There it is. I just turned it on and off. All right, so it changes the font of everything on the page to Open Dyslexic font. And if you does anyone know what Open Dyslexic font is? I'll give you a candy bar next time you come by my office. I'm scrolling up and down to see a thumb. Feel free to unmute yourself and just tell the crowd. It's a candy bar. All right. Well, then I shall explain. For some reason, this type of font allows someone who is dyslexic to read more smoothly in most cases. I've shown it to a number of students. Some of them, they say it's amazing. They wish they knew about it a long time ago. For others, it's like it doesn't help them as much. Everyone's different. But basically, the way that the font, the letters, the way they're weighted with the ink, so that the quote unquote ink, so that certain parts of the letter look heavier than others, it somehow helps them to distinguish between those letters more easily than stuff that we're used to, like Arial or New Times Roman and all that. The way this is, it helps pull the eye forward, and they don't reverse the letters as frequently. So pretty cool. So if you're dyslexic, there it is, Open Dyslexic. Give it a try and let me know if it does seem to help you, because I'm kind of looking for an average on this one, see if most people find it useful or not. Let's see, go back to my extensions tab. Wanted to go back to this. Clearly Reader is one of those that kind of gets rid of pop-up ads, but not just pop-up ads, it gets rid of a lot of peripheral material, so that when you use this, it's kind of like the immersive reader mode in Canvas, if you are familiar with it. It just gets rid of the clutter and it makes the main content of the page like into a column that goes down the middle of your page. You can also read it out loud. You can change the background. You can make it look sepia or sepia. I never know how to say that. You can change the color. You can make it, white text on a black background, like dark mode. You can do all kinds of stuff with Clearly Reader. So it's got a lot of options built into that one extension. What else do I have on here? Volume Master. So Volume Master, I was kind of worried about this. I was worried about like destroying school property, but basically the idea is that it amps up your speakers. So whatever speaker system you have for your computer right now, if you're hard of hearing and it would help to amp it up that much more, then you could try this tool. It's an extension that you add to your browser, and then per web page, I believe. Yeah, per web page, it can be turned on and off. If you go from one web page to another, I think you have to turn it on again for each page you visit. And I guess the reason behind that is because maybe you want to crank up the volume on some things, but not on others. So it's there. It can like basically quadruple, I think, the volume that's coming out of your speakers. But again, caveat, I don't know if it will destroy school property. I have yet to blow out a speaker. But of course, oh, it says right there, up to 600% volume boost. I don't know about that, but that's a pretty impressive claim. So that's there for you to try. Here's another extension called Equatio. This is another one that we've offered to students in the past. It's not very popular with students, I'll be honest. They do offer a 30-day trial mode. So I suggest giving it a whirl if you want to see how it works with math, if you have trouble with math. This tool can do a number of things. It does cost money. It's about $100 a year once the 30-day trial is over per person. But the idea is that it will read math out loud correctly. So these these read aloud tools that I've been showing you so far are great for pros, for words on the page, for stories, for articles. They're horrible for math. And it's a sticking point in this whole assistive tech alt media universe that I work in. Like STEM classes, science classes, math classes are the hardest course materials that we have to remediate for students oftentimes. And that's because the readers that we offer by default don't work as well for math. And the reason is pretty straightforward. Let's say you have an equation like the quadratic equation, which I used to know. But let's say like x equals, what was it? A plus the square root of 4ac or something like that over b squared. I don't know. I think I got a little close to it. But anyway, you have like an equation with a top and a bottom, numerator and denominator, at least remember that much. And the screen reader is trying to read it from left to right, from top to bottom per line. So when it's trying to read a math equation, it would read like the top part of the fraction, and then maybe the x equals, and then maybe the bottom part of the fraction as though it's three separate lines. It would read it in the wrong order. It would probably think the square root symbol is the letter V. It might think that the minus 4a is dash 4a. It might think that b squared is b2 or b asterisk if it can't distinguish the two well enough. It's just kind of a nightmare as far as how these things read math out loud. So that's where this comes in. Equatio, if you're sighted, is a great tool. It's not very great if you're blind, but the idea is you can crop an equation with a little screen cropper. You drag it across the screen, across the equation. It carves that out, acknowledges it as a math equation, and reads it the way it should be read. So that is a beautiful thing. Also, you can dictate into it. So you can say a math equation into your computer and it will show up as a math equation rather than something that's just spelled out like a bunch of words. You can use your handwriting to write on like a tablet, and then it will convert your messy handwriting, if you're anything like me, into digital copy so that it looks like you typed it on a computer. It has some equations that are built into it, so you don't have to keep typing the quadratic equation over and over again. It has a lot of chemistry formulas and all that built into it. Anyway, it's a great tool. Sorry, I'm just kind of explaining it while I show this page, but if you want to give it a try, hopefully I gave you an idea of what it's capable of, and you can just go to the Equatio website and sign up for the trial. I will be sending out an email to everyone with all these links. I thought that might be easier to do than to put links in the chat the whole time. So if you're in this session, rest assured I'll be sending you a follow-up email with all these links. What else do I have here? I've got just the word accessibility. So if you go to the Chrome Web Store and you do a search for the word accessibility, you are going to get so many awesome things that you didn't know existed. It's pretty incredible. So that's another thing I would suggest. So before I go on to the iPhone, I just want to let you all know that I'm going to go on to the iPhone. In case you hate iPhones and don't want any part of that, feel free to bounce. But before that even, does anybody have any questions at this point? No? No? No chat? No questions? All right, here goes. Does anybody have anything to offer, like along these lines? Is there anything that you've discovered that would be useful, you think, for what we do here? You're just all iPhone fans. That's cool. All right, here we go. So the thing about iPhone, there's a lot of features built into it that you can discover just by going into the accessibility item in your settings. So this is going to be a little awkward because I don't have the iPhone connected to my computer. I can't just make it my screen, unfortunately. So I'm going to be kind of holding it off to the side. But the idea is that if you all want to break out your iPhones right now, feel free to kind of follow along. I'll try to verbalize what I'm doing. But if you go into your settings feature, you can scroll down to accessibility, which I think is awesome because a long time ago, accessibility used to be a submenu of the general menu, and it was a little deeper in there, but it's right there among the first things that you can spot now. And it's not a button that most of us touch, right? Unless we are told to by someone else. So if you go into accessibility, it's got all kinds of features. It's got voiceover at the very top, which if you've never used voiceover before, I don't suggest trying that one on your own, believe it or not, because you can turn it on and then have a lot of trouble turning it off. And that can be scary. It's like, ah, my phone is locked in voiceover mode, Nate. What did you do to me? So voiceover, what it does is it verbalizes everything on the screen. So if you're blind, you can still navigate your phone by just listening to what the icon is, the currently highlighted icon. Having said that, it works differently as far as your finger gestures, right? So that's why it can be kind of a scary thing, because you used to be able to just tap an icon to open it, to open the app. And suddenly with VoiceOver, it doesn't work that way. You tap the icon, you tap the app icon on your home screen, and all it does is highlight it and verbalize what it is. It would say Instagram or notes. So that's why it's navigable for someone who's blind. But then if you actually want to access the app, you have to double tap. So you hear a little popping noise, and then Instagram would open or notes would open. So that right off the bat works differently. But it's a very powerful tool. I used to work at Braille Institute in Santa Barbara for 11 years. And so I learned VoiceOver like the back of my hand, but they're always updating it. And there are some things now that I used to know how to do and I have to relearn because it's always changing, right? Zoom is a great feature that allows you to magnify your screen on your phone. And we're not talking about just like opening it with your fingers like a pinch. We're talking about having a little magnifying glass show up on your iPhone screen that moves around and lets you see that part of the screen as though you're holding a magnifying glass over your screen. And it won't be as pixelated as it would be if you zoom in with your fingers. It's like, it's more, it's got a higher resolution that way. You can use it that way, or you can use the zoom feature to magnify your entire screen as though your iPhone itself is the magnifier. And so you can kind of move the screen around with 3 fingers. You can drag it around so that you can see various parts of the screen at any given time. And then there's let's see, there's one that's like crazy on here. It's a sound recognition. So under the hearing level, there's one called sound recognition. It's red. And when you turn that on, you get to choose what sound it is that you want your phone to recognize. So this is like in my description for this little session that we're doing here. I mentioned, do you want your iPhone to tell you when a cat meows? This is how you do that. You can choose cat. And now when it's listening, which it is now for a cat, if it hears a cat meow, it will give a popcorn notification. You can also set it to vibrate. So this can be great, like if you are deaf and you want to know if your dog is inside or outside or whatever, you want your phone to vibrate when your dog is barking to get out or something like that. That's the idea here. So your phone can kind of tell you things that when you can't hear them yourself. One caveat about this feature though is that it's a huge drain on your battery, especially if you have an iPhone that's older than the 14. I have a 14 and I think this is where it starts to work without a total drain. But back when I used that feature on an iPhone 6S, it killed my battery within an hour because it's just constantly listening. And the Apple rep I've talked to about it said that, yeah, as of like the iPhone 14, 15, the microprocessors are better now to such an extent that that's not an issue anymore. But it takes a lot of work for the phone to always be listening for these noises. You have things like a fire alarm, doorbell, door knock, water running, baby crying. You can see how that'd be useful, right? So let's see, what else about the iPhone? I'm sure everyone probably knows this one, but these things sneak up on us. So just in case you don't, when you take a picture with your camera, if there are words in whatever you took a picture of, like you take a picture of a sign, and then you save it to your photos, then those words become readable. So you can have your phone read those words out loud. So this is another one I'm curious about though. How many of you knew that already? Because I bet a lot of you knew that one already, right? Give me a thumb. Yes, Rafi knew. Very cool. So yeah, and Clarissa. So it looks like a few of you knew. So yeah, if you didn't know that, that's a pretty cool tool. You can take a picture of something, save it to photos, and have it read out loud to you. As far as having your phone read out loud to you goes, its default seems to be to have that feature off, but you can turn it on within your settings so that when you highlight text, like when you're going to copy and paste text in your phone, when you highlight text and you get all those little submenu options like definition, copy, paste, one of them will be speak. And then when you hit the speak button, it will read out loud whatever it is that you highlighted. There are two ways to get your phone to read out loud though. That's one of them, and that's the one I prefer. But the other one, it's in your settings, your accessibility settings under spoken content. So you have to go to spoken content and you have to turn it on in there. So speak selection is the version that I just talked about. That's the one I like. You can also do speak screen, which basically will read everything from the top, which could be useful, but it can also be kind of a pain because you might want to start reading elsewhere on the page. There might be a better way to navigate it than what I've learned, but from what I can tell, it always starts at the top. And then it lets you pause it at any given time. So that's the nice thing about the speak screen version is you can pause it. Whereas speak selection, it's just gonna keep reading it. Like I can't get it to stop. So be careful about how much you highlight because it'll just keep going. It is possible to have them both working at the same time. So just be aware that if you actually have both speak options on, then and you start each one at a different moment, it'll be like your, row, row, row your boat song. Well, it'll be like reading over each other at two different times. It's very annoying. So don't do that. Let's see what other features about the iPhone. There's shortcuts. Shortcuts is an app that is on our phones like all the time. It's like one of the default apps. And I don't use it very often. I don't know if anybody does. If you do and you have a great time with that app and you have all these uses for it, then I'd love to hear about that. But I can't, where is my journal? Where did my shortcuts go? Wow. I was just using it yesterday. I know it's on here. Well, there it is. Okay. Shortcuts is it's a blue with like pink and light blue underneath it. Looks kind of like this one. And basically it provides a bunch of kind of app groupings or themed groupings, depending on what you want your phone to do. So in one regard, it can be used to just kind of go straight to things that you want to do the most often. But in another way, it's great at grouping accessibility tools and providing you with a list of accessibility tools. So if you want to have lists of accessibility tools that your iPhone can do without having to go into your settings and scroll through everything and give them a try, go to shortcuts, go to gallery at the bottom right, and do a search for accessibility. Just the word accessibility. And you will get a list of iPhone and iPad accessibility shortcuts. And when you touch it, it opens up a list of possible disabilities. They are vision, hearing, mobility, cognitive, and speech. You can highlight more than one of these. So if you're vision impaired and maybe you're cannot distinguish certain colors, maybe that's the type of your vision impairment. You can add also mobility issue. So let's say you're a manual wheelchair user. And then you say you're finished, and it opens the Notes app with a whole bunch of notes. And it basically guides you through all these various apps and peripherals and useful Apple tools that can help you with those disabilities. So it has links in there, like, let's see here, let's just choose one. I mean, this thing goes on and on. It's like giving a full exposition of all kinds of stuff. So here's one that says announce messages with Siri on AirPods. When you're wearing your AirPods or compatible Beats headphones, Siri can announce your incoming messages. Then you can reply instantly hands-free. And guess what? I just turned on Siri because I said her name. All right, she went away. And it's also got a link, announce messages with Siri on AirPods. You touch the link, it takes you to a useful web page, the Apple website that spells it all out. Another thing that this phone can do is you can use your voice to control it. I don't know how many of you know that, but rather than voice over, which is the feature that allows a blind person to navigate the phone, you could use voice control so that you don't even have to touch your phone. And with voice control, you can basically you use a series of commands to tell the phone what you want it to do, and it creates a grid on the phone, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so you can choose a location on the phone, and when you verbalize that grid location, then it isolates your screen to that. And then when that is all you're dealing with, if there are a couple things within that square, you can isolate it again until you isolate it down to that one point of the screen that you're concerned about. And if it's a link, for example, you can say, click on link. Or if it's a series of links that you get on the page in the first place, you could say, what it will do is it will number every single link. So you could say something like click on link click on link 3. And then that particular third link on the page is what will open in Safari or whatever browser you're using. I don't know if it works for browsers beyond Safari though, because that's the Apple one. So that's voice control. And then another feature that I have yet to upgrade my phone to iOS 18, but a cutting edge feature that the Apple rep told me about just the other day was eye tracking, which is something that I think I know I've been waiting for a long time. So if someone is immobile and they can't talk, nor for voice control, nor can they touch their screen, they've got the first version of eye tracking now installed in iOS 18, which allows you to control your iPhone with your eyeballs. You just look at where you want it to go. You blink so many times that will, like a double blink will open something, etc. So I have yet to use that one, but if you're already on iOS 18, like give it a shot because that's what I'm going to be doing soon. So I'm curious to learn about that. And that's pretty much what I had. There are other features that I could talk about for iPhone, but I figure it's 1:54, so it gives us 5 minutes for any other questions. I'm looking at this chat over here. All right. Bye, America. All right. Well, then that's it. Thanks, everybody. I hope you got something out of this. And I hope you didn't know everything already. It looks like a lot of you got something out of it, so that's cool. All right. Thank